Hi, Eric Lanask here. We're in San Jose, California. I'm talking with Sonim's Sanjay Jawar. Sanjay, thanks for joining me. Great to have you with us.
Thank you.
So, you've got some a little bit of a different proposition on the whole mobile device phenomenon that's taking place. We've all had screens scratched, we've dropped our phones, or we've dropped them into a puddle. What are you doing to address that, and what's the market that needs that to be addressed?
Thank you. Yes, Sonim Technologies, we're here in a Silicon Valley company in San Mateo, California. And we make the world's most rugged devices, the toughest devices. And we call them ultra rugged because they go way beyond, the consumer rugged. And they're really the synthesis of what industrial users and public safety users in tough industries would need when you consider how to combine handheld computing device with a smartphone with maybe a radio that they used before and put that into one. And so this is the product that we are just launched in Canada and will be launched in the US shortly. It's called the Sonim XP7. It's the world's toughest smartphone. It's targeted at police officers, firefighters. The US Army is using this, as well as construction workers, oil and gas workers, utilities, transportation, logistics, agriculture. And so there are about 37 million people in North America that are in this category. They're field workers. They're not like you and me in the office, knowledge workers. They're people who are out there with hard hats. And they've had to settle for Windows Mobile 6 devices that are super expensive and super clunky, or consumer devices in cases which don't really cut it if you have to use them day in, day out. Or they've been using radios. And so they've kind of been left behind when it comes to the intelligence of the modern technology combined in an ultra-rugged package. So this device actually has the longest battery life of any smartphone. It has a 4,800 milliampere hour battery that'll last, we say, 2 shifts under any circumstances, sometimes 2 or 3 days. Leave your GPS on all the time. Turn the volume up. Use push to talk with this yellow button on the side, like the old Nextel, except with modern IP-based technology on LTE. And run a lot of apps, and you'll still get days of life out of it. So that's one of the big issues that workers have in the field. And sometimes these are safety devices as well. So if they stop working, it's a safety issue or it's a mission-critical issue for their business.
Probably a number of different use cases, from warehousing to marine environments, possibly?
Yeah, absolutely. So in warehousing and logistics in general, you have this indoor-outdoor environment. So Wi-Fi is important, but outdoor, LTE and 4G is important. One of the things people do in warehousing is they like to scan barcodes. Sure. And so we actually have an attachable barcode scanner with a laser. You can scan barcodes with a camera, but if you have to do a lot of high-volume barcodes, you want to do 10 a minute, and you want to do them very reliably in bad lighting conditions, then you can attach as a connector here. You might be able to see this cover. Take this off, put this on here, bolts on. It's still rugged. You can still drop it. But now a laser comes out of here, and you can use this dedicated key on the side to scan barcodes, someone like this. And so this is radically less expensive than the traditional barcode scanning PDAs, radically more rugged and higher performant. Bought through a mobile operator, it is hundreds of dollars less. It's typically an iPhone 5 type of price range on a contract compared to the $1,000, $2,000 plus devices that these folks are used to. Quite disruptive.
What was the motivation for you to get into this market, start developing these products?
Yeah, we've been serving the rugged user for quite a while. The company started out actually as a software company on the network side, building push-to-talk software for carriers that would compete with Nextel. As we've evolved, we've become more on the device side. This particular thing has been 3 years in development. And, our motivation has been to serve the customers that were previously buying our feature phones as Nextel replacement devices and move them up to smarter devices, what our customers asked us to do. And no one had really done what we would consider an ultra-rugged device in a modern form factor with a modern, KitKat operating system. And so these devices are very different. I mean, I can kind of do a little drop test if you like. So, no issue. And there's really no other, display size of this kind where you can do that, right? I mean, if you look at the consumer rugged devices, you can kind of drop them from this high, and they're designed for occasional use, not mission-critical use. So we felt we could bring the volume that comes with the carrier business. Our carriers are AT&T in the US and Bell and TELUS in Canada, others coming up in North America and in Europe next year. That gives us the kind of scale necessary to put these kind of products together, but we also managed to provide all the capabilities that the hardcore rugged enterprise needs that you previously only found in very expensive devices, or you didn't find them in this kind of package at all.
How are you going to market with the devices? Obviously, the consumer channel isn't the right way to go.
Our primary market is through network operators in the US, AT&T, Canada, Bell and TELUS, and others coming up through their business sales channels. And we partner very closely with their solution sales and solution marketing teams that targets particular industries. So at AT&T, we're very focused on energy and oil and gas, transportation, logistics, construction, to take a few examples, hospitality even, right? If you think about the number of people with walkie-talkies in a big hotel or convention center like that, but they also want to manage security, manage safety, do facilities management. So that's one channel. We are, on the consumer side, there is some crossover. Clearly, these devices will do everything that a consumer needs and more, sure, particularly with the long battery life. If you're like me, you like to go out on a bike ride. A lot of people do that here in California. I always find that with the smartphones I've had before, if you do 3 or 4 hours on your bike with GPS on, it'll drain your battery. And it's happened to me that I've actually got lost because I lost my Google Maps in the middle of the mountains and the battery was dead. Here, no such issue. Go for days. And so we will be doing a Indiegogo campaign beginning November 25th, right before Thanksgiving, over the holiday weekend, where folks can actually buy one of these unlocked, together with a kind of sports accessory package that will include GoPro mounts that you can attach them to your bike or your kayak or your motorcycle or whatever it is that you do, and be able to take advantage of some of these professional features, but in a consumer setting. Our primary market remains police, fire, ambulance, and industrial users. We have this other device, the XP6. It's a sister phone. As you can see, it's still a smartphone. It's very similar, but it has a slightly smaller screen and a keypad. It's better for voice usage, perhaps, but you can still run your apps here. This is being used by the U.S. Army in Fort Irwin for their training operations out in the desert, where they put up to 50,000 soldiers at a time, and they do a simulated Middle East environment with deserts and villages, and exercises with weapons that are firing blanks but have lasers, kind of the world's largest game of laser tag. So these are used in that environment, and we're proud to be selected by the Army.
Well, congratulations on that. Now, what's the benefit of using that model as opposed to the full touch screen?
As I say, some of the customers come from a radio environment. So in a radio environment with the push-to-talk here, over the LTE network, we use AT&T's enhanced push-to-talk system here in the US. You want something that is a little more radio-shaped. It has the numeric keypad, so you can still dial numbers with it. And yet, it's a very smart device. So compared to your radio, it's sort of a huge quantum leap in what you can do with applications and different capabilities, forms. You can still scan barcodes. So some of our users who are coming from radios find this to be the right solution. It's clearly a little narrower, easier to hold, 2.6-inch screen. But we have a lot of users who want to do the data applications that are richer and are used to this more traditional form factor. The piece at the top here is actually a loudspeaker and a GPS antenna, and this is how we get the 103 decibels of audio, so you can really hear these things in a loud environment. Like if you've got Humvees going in the background, which the Army does, there are various accessories, headsets, and microphones that they use as well in that environment. Super rugged.
Theoretically, with the rugged nature, and given that it can do anything that any other smartphone really can do, the sort of extensibility of that product category into almost any sort of retail and other sort of manufacturing we talked about, or any other mobile type business, theoretically is limitless.
Exactly. We think there's a lot of growth in those segments. We've seen certainly high interest in manufacturing. Retail is using, it's a less rugged environment, but they're using tablets. We do have tablets on our roadmap, not this year. But we're certainly seeing, the core verticals of long-haul trucking, utilities, oil and gas, et cetera, as being where we see the great the great volume. So if you think of a typical construction site, for example, if you were to build this convention center again, there'd be a prime contractor, and there'd be lots of subcontractors, this complicated organizational system that you have. It might take several years to build. And you'll find that 85% of the people in that environment are people with hard hats that need these kind of devices. And 10 to 15% of the people are going to have your iPhone 6 or your Galaxy whatever, which is more like what the knowledge worker typically uses. So this 85% of the pyramid of the employees in that kind of environment has been very underserved. And I think the industry has gone down this path of thinner, lighter, and has left behind a lot of the users for whom that isn't the right solution. Those are incredible products, but they're designed for much lighter weight consumer use or lightweight office use. And this large and important market, which is safety critical, productivity critical for those users, has not been well served. So we're here to solve that problem with not only the devices, but our applications, cloud services, and accessories, a real platform for solution providers.
Excellent. Great looking products, great looking drop demo.
Thank you.
Sanjay, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.